I think it's time for another data miner kata.
Hello and welcome to another Bringing the Thunder. We've got a very fun data miner kata lined up once again. We're going to be learning a lot of interesting new things as usual. And to do that and to help us do that, we have the real show of the star. Is usually the guest, not really me, but the person who prepares everything and teaches us how everything works. And we've got a new guest today. Hello. Can you tell us a little bit, who are you? And what do you do here?
Hi, sure. My name is Shil.
Yeah.
Like many guests so far, I also work in the data exploration domain.
Yes.
Mainly focus on low-code apps and dashboards.
Low-code apps and dashboards.
Yes.
So together with Seba's team and
Yes, it's
amazing.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna guess, because I'm already seeing it in the corner of my eye here, we have a low-code app open there, I believe.
Indeed.
So we're gonna be doing something with low-code apps.
Yeah.
Again.
Yes.
Is it something you worked on yourself, or?
Yeah, I helped develop.
Oh, it's always fun. I always love it when we have someone who actually worked on it, because that always feels so much nicer, because you get to show off some of your work that you do in the dungeons of Skyline. So what have you got for us today? What are we going to be doing?
I'm going to show off a brand new feature in low-code apps and dashboards called variables.
Got variables. I see the name there.
Indeed.
Variables.
Well spotted. It's available from 10/4/12 onwards.
Okay, 10/4. So data.
10/4/12. Yes.
10/4/12. So datamine 10/4/12 is the minimum required datamine version. So
the web version.
The web, you can separately update if you need to.
So app only upgrade to 10/4/12 should.
10/4/12. So that's the prerequisite. Anything that we have to install? Like, do we need to grab a package from the catalog or something?
No, I did something atypical here because I'll explain it a bit later.
Okay.
Variables is a very generic concept.
Okay.
So I didn't want to come up with one specific solution that we can all copy paste.
Yeah. So you got something a little bit different.
Yes.
Amazing. I love it. Okay, so do we jump in?
Yeah.
Okay, sure. What have you got? What am I looking at?
All right. We're looking at the low-code app because variables is part of a low-code app.
Perfect.
Now, what is a variable? It's actually a new data type that is now available, and it represents something. Can be anything, but it's the user, the creator of the app, that gives meaning to it.
Okay.
Can be anything.
Yes.
But it is data, and it can be consumed as data inside the local app dashboard.
Okay. So, and is it data? Data is usually stored somewhere.
Indeed.
I know that data is stored somewhere. So, is this data? Is that data in a database? Is it in data miner itself, or is it client side, or what am I working with here?
Very interesting question, and that's also why variables exist.
Okay.
They are not stored on your agents.
Okay.
They are part of the app.
Okay. So
they live in memory.
They live in memory of the client of the app itself. Okay. So it's like a client side. A variable. You said variable.
Indeed.
Yeah, I see the name now. Okay, I get it. All right. So variables, amazing.
Yeah. It's data. So it's available in our data panel.
Okay.
You'll see a section over here called variables, and here you can create and manage all your variables which are scoped to your app.
Okay.
Once I create here, I won't see them in another app.
All right.
So let me create one for you. First thing you need to provide is a meaningful name.
Yeah, a name and then a type I see as well. Okay.
That's for later on.
Oh wow! I'm rushing him. I'm sorry. First name. The
most important thing of a variable is giving it a meaningful name, so you know later up when you are working with the app what it represents.
Okay. I'm happy you stopped me because it is indeed important.
Indeed.
In Paul development, a well-known name. Okay.
Imagine I want to create a filter to narrow down my list of elements. And it should be filtered like on the state of the elements.
Sure. Okay.
Post. And I could use a variable for that filter, which I can then later on in my app at runtime replace with a new string like active post. So a meaningful name for this would be.
Oh, well, it's the element state, I suppose.
Element state is a perfect name. Then we have a name. We know what it represents. There is no AI involved here.
No AI.
So with the name alone, the low-code app doesn't know anything about it.
Right.
So we, as the user, need to provide some context to that variable by stating its type. We already have a small list of supported types. The most common types will be here, like an element, service view, a string, a number.
Ah, okay. Yes.
Yeah. So for our variable that we just created to provide as filter, it will be probably a...
Well, it could either be a text or a number, I guess. So
Yeah, it's indeed a text.
depending on the
Yeah.
how deep you drill into the bowels of data mining.
Yeah.
At one point it's a number and then it changes into text.
Indeed.
So it's gonna be text.
It will be text and it will remain text for our
Excellent.
users. Another flag is a read-only one. When it's read-only, you will not be able to change it at runtime.
Okay, so then you have to give it like a fixed.
Yes, indeed.
Okay.
Then this
Fixed
default
value.
initial value will be required. Of course, we will use it as a filter that we can change later on, so we will not make it
Yeah,
read-only
you want
in
a
our case.
dynamic.
And yeah, that's basically a variable in a nutshell. Just
Okay.
a small piece of data that lives inside your app and that you can change at runtime.
All right. May I ask? Here we go. Beginning of the silly questions. No, because I'm wondering, and this might be something you won't know by heart, but the name, like, is that like a case-sensitive thing? If you need to look it up or you need to reuse it somewhere, or is it gonna just show up like these are all the possible variables?
Yes.
You have a drop down or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where you can use the variable, it will be listed up and it will be using this name
Okay. So
to reference it.
yeah, perfect.
But you can change it as you like. It's not that there are restrictions like you can't use this or that character.
Okay. Great.
Just don't go too far.
Too crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Too crazy.
Don't paste the book in there because it will be hard to find
Okay.
it back.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. So variables in a nutshell. I'll have to confess something, Jan. I didn't prepare a catalog package.
No catalog package.
No.
How dare you?
Yeah,
But
because
you did say it was going to be a bit generic, so
indeed it's a very generic topic. So what I'd rather do is showcase some of the examples I could immediately think of when this feature became available,
yeah,
and explain my thought process,
yeah.
where I could leverage these variables, and hopefully I could empower you then to maybe in the end do a small tutorial together.
Okay, sure. Yeah, we'll see how that goes. Go
Okay.
for it. So
I have a low-code app over here, a very basic low-code app. It shows a severity filter on top. Clicking severity just shows a list of elements that are currently in that alarm state.
okay,
So clicking on an element shows just some details about that element, nothing too fancy here.
all right.
First impression means everything with the low-code app. So when I load in the low-code app, this is what I get.
Okay.
Works out of the box, but you might have spotted a problem here.
Did I spot a problem?
I'll do it again.
Do it again. I might have missed one. So you refresh. It
I
loads
refresh.
up.
You already set the problem there.
That it was loading.
It was loading.
Okay.
You don't want loading. Those are alarm states, severities.
Yes.
We
Well-
know them up front. These will never change. They
Ah,
are
okay.
like this today. They will be like that in a year
You
from
want to fix the minor warning, major, and so on.
now. Indeed. It's right now using a GUI query to fetch my available states.
Okay.
And I'll have to confess again, I wrote a very poor query. So it takes a bit longer than it should.
Ah, okay.
But even if I would optimize the query, it's still very sad that it needs to go to the server and consume resources just to return the same set over and over again when a user opens the app.
Yeah.
So we will want to make this a bit better and faster.
All right.
So how can we do that? This is GUI table with severities provided by a query. You might have spotted that there was a variable available of the type table. So we want to create a variable so that the severities live in memory.
Yeah. So we're talking now not what is the severity of the element at runtime. It's more like what are the options?
Yes,
What exist? What are the possible severities? And for that one, if what you're saying, if I'm getting it, is for that one you were also doing a GUI query.
Yep.
To get all of those,
Yes.
what are the possible severities? I really want to.
Yeah,
Probably.
because the sad thing is there was no way up to now to have those values as a generic filter.
As a default or a string. Okay, yeah.
There was no way to pull in data inside your app without going to the server to
Okay,
query.
so you'd either have to change the entire way of making the low-code app, so those are individual components where you can then fill in a name, or we can use a variable.
Indeed.
Excellent.
So I want to get rid of the query and create a variable instead. The name would be severities.
Yep, makes sense. Those are all the known severities.
Like I mentioned, it will be a table in this one.
Yeah.
It can be read-only, because like I said, these will never change at runtime either. And then I need to provide the values for my severities. So I have a table editor where I can fill in all my severities, but I'll show you a quick win.
Okay.
When you ever want to convert a data source like the severities table to a static variable, you can just change it to a table, copy its contents. I can change it back to the grid.
Okay.
Go to the editor and just paste the table, and there we go.
Oh, that is good. Yeah. So if you're dealing with converting what you already have, you want to make it more efficient by not having to do those queries, you can copy it from the table view pretty much. Okay.
Small disclaimer though, you can only have 100 rows and 20 columns, because these table variables are not meant to be abused for actual storage.
Yeah, once you get with a lot of data, storing it in the client isn't really the best option. At that point, you're better off with a database somewhere, or using one of the database and data miners somehow. And then, something like DOM or an element, But yeah, okay, it makes sense. So it is limited, 20 columns or 100 rows.
100 rows.
It's still a lot of, I mean, it's a good amount.
Should get you pretty far.
You can do a lot with that.
I can still tweak it a bit like this undefined severity. I don't want that. And I can change the order a bit as well, so it makes more sense for severities. Things that are now very easy, but were not that straightforward by doing this with the query.
Yeah.
That's it. This is now a variable that contains a table, so I can use it as a table everywhere in my app. This visualization supports tables, so I can drop it.
Yeah.
And when I have a look, I see my initial query results and my static.
So you're going to have to probably get rid of the original query then?
Indeed. Yeah. But I'll still wait a bit with that, because these new items in my grid look a bit ugly.
Yes,
not as fancy as this one. So I'm quite like the initial one, so I reuse the template for my new severities, and I can use the one that was using a query. And now I see some broken references, because this template was specifically designed for
to work with a GUI query.
Yeah, so the columns are also referenced by that, so I can adjust that in my templates. This was color class, and this was the alarm state. Those are the names of your columns.
Okay, I was gonna ask, okay, so the names of your columns.
So now we have a mix of both, and now I can just remove my query, get severities entirely. Yeah. And we now have a clean, nicely ordered, it should be very fast filter. Yeah. Clicking it won't work anymore, because same problem as with the template, the reference was made with the column filter from my query. Now it's a table variable, so in my query I also need to adjust the reference to the column of my table variable. Yeah, okay, I see. And now let's have a look at the difference. Refresh, instantly there.
Yes, that is indeed quite a lot faster. It is a lot faster. Yeah. Okay, I see it.
So one thing I could immediately think of when this feature became available, boosting your efficiency of your app by getting rid of all the ad hoc data sources to retrieve some static.
Yes, static values, you can store them in the variables. Yeah.
Our guys at MediaOps are already very busy with converting all their apps by doing this, and the performance boost we see is tremendous.
Yeah, okay, I can imagine. Very cool. Yeah, always improving, always getting better. Amazing.
So, one use case, performance. Another thing, it's a very basic app. I would like to add a bit more features to it.
All right.
Wouldn't it be nice if we could somehow keep track of the elements that we open?
Not have to do that same query for that element, but store the data?
No, now I'm talking about user experience.
Okay.
So imagine I opened this element and now I go to the critical and I want to see something back from the previous element, but I need to go, wait, in which event it was again? So keeping track of all the things I opened so that I can quickly navigate back to them.
Ah,
A feature in my app.
Yeah, like a previous page or previous setting or something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah.
So let's see if we can create such a feature in our app. So obviously I want a panel and I want a trigger to open that panel. So let's start with the trigger. I can add a header bar on top. It's a history button.
Okay.
Nice icon so we know what it will do.
Yeah.
It should open a panel with a list of all my elements I clicked on. So we need a panel.
Yeah.
We don't have a panel yet. Let's call it history as well.
Yeah, and then the button has to open that panel.
Yeah. The panel will contain a list.
Okay.
So table is a perfect fit for a list visualization. And that list will contain something that keeps growing in memory. When I visit an element, it should be added to something, and that something should be displayed inside this visualization. So we're talking about a variable here.
Yeah.
But not the severities one like we did here.
It's going to be a new variable.
It will be a new variable.
Also probably table, as in you want to link it to a visual table.
Indeed, well guessed. It's something that will grow. Some more rows will be added. Recently visited elements of type table. This one could be read-only. This one should not be read-only because it grows.
At runtime, we're changing it,
Yeah. We can add it. And I can still change it. My list can have like an incremental number to really give it the list-like feeling. And it can contain the name of the item I visited.
Okay.
And then to style it a bit more, this one can be aligned on the left. And that will some CSS magic to have an incremental number. And the name can be aligned on the right.
All right.
We have a list which is not yet populated with things, but we just have the place to store it.
Yeah.
Our button needs to open the list.
Yeah, so you need to link that one, I believe. Or you need to add an event.
So we want to open the panel. Which one? Our history.
Yes.
And it can be a panel on the right. And let's have a look if that already does what it should do. Yes, it will. Okay. So I have a button that opens up my panel. The idea is that this list will contain all the items I clicked upon.
Right, so you're gonna guess here, I think an on-click event on that item, and then triggering something that fills in the variable, or adds it, or am I in the wrong direction?
That's one way.
Okay, not the right direction. It's one way, not the way. Okay,
ideally you can
teach me, sensei.
The idea is that you can also open it from here. So it will not be, I would not personally do it with an on-click event here, but as soon as this panel gets opened, then I want to...
On the load of the panel then. Oh, I see.
The panel gets loaded, I want to push the current element to my recently visited elements.
I see.
And then I can trigger that detail panel from multiple places, and they will always be populated inside my history list.
Yeah. The difference between it changing it in one place or having to add an on-click in every place of your... Okay,
indeed.
Makes sense.
So, problem, I have one detail panel triggered from my overview. So if I click on an element here, that panel gets opened and will show the selected element from my overview. Yes. But I want to reuse that same detail panel from my history window.
Yes.
But that detail panel is not able to listen to the selection of my detail window. Okay. You might have learned about flows.
Yes. Recently, we were shown some beautiful new UI with the dots, the flows happening. Yeah.
So that would one way to solve this problem.
Yeah.
We have two spots where we can merge data together. And the panel could show the latest selected item.
The latest selected. Yeah.
But this is a session about variables, so I will
gonna
not
use-
use flows. I
Okay.
will just push something to variable.
Okay.
And that variable in detail. window.
Sure.
So, new variable. This details pop-up is used in query, which is filtering an item based on name. So I will push everything to a variable which contains the selected name.
Yeah, so like element name or yeah,
Yeah.
selected name. Yeah.
Of type text.
Yep.
Not read-only. Will change at runtime and can be empty initially.
Okay.
When should this variable be populated? When I click on this item.
Mm-hmm.
So I go to the template. When the shape is clicked, it should update the variable. And this is done through actions. We created a new action, change a variable action, which will populate, which will give you all the
Variables that exist that you
and that
can
are
select.
not read-only.
Ah, okay, so it already filters that. Okay,
Yes.
nice.
Because yeah, you can't change it at
No,
runtime,
no,
so
no.
it
Yeah.
doesn't make sense to use it in an action.
Perfect.
So here I want to update my selected element name.
Yes.
And what should it contain? When I click it, it should contain from my grid the name of the selected item.
Yeah.
And that's it. Now, if everything goes well, I should have the exact same app. Oh, forgot something. The query is not using that variable yet.
Yeah, no, it
So-
was still gonna, yeah, okay.
It's still using the selected
query,
item.
yeah.
So I need to replace. So it was using this one.
Mm-hmm.
It was listening to the selected element name from the grid. Should not longer do that. It should use the selected element name variable.
All right, okay.
So now I can update that variable from multiple places, and this query will update
Okay,
as soon as one place updates the variable.
perfect.
So normally this should continue to work.
Drum roll.
Yeah, it does. The detail panel opens, of course, when I do something here.
Nothing
Doesn't
yet,
work.
because you're not filling it in.
Not filling it in, and also I didn't provide an action yet here. If I click here,
Yeah.
it should also open the detail panel and set the variable.
Mm-hmm.
So let's do exactly that.
All
We
right.
go to the history. When I click an item inside my table,
Yeah.
on double click, I should do something. What should I do? I should change the variable as well.
Yeah, you want to set that to the selected.
Yeah, I want to overwrite the selected element name and link it to my history table, and it should contain the name of the item I
Yeah,
clicked.
not numbers, name.
No.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, because everything's with name. You mentioned filtering and yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Perfect.
should do something now. It's just wrote the variable, but it doesn't open the panel yet.
It's a different action to say open the panel.
Yeah.
You need to add that as well.
Yes. So
But and are we, or did I miss that? Are we already adding new rows to that?
no.
So yeah, so
No, we're just defining what the history of
Logic.
you should do.
should do, yeah, okay.
So it should open a panel, the
Mhm.
details panel, can be the pop-up. And what it could also do is just close the panel again. When I open the history, I double click an item, it can close the history again.
Ah, okay. Yes, you want, yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
so close this panel. Let's inspect the behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Details opens. Double click, it opens, but the name was empty.
Yeah, nothing to show because we still need to fill in that variable that contains the table
Indeed.
on the load of the details,
Indeed, that's our last.
not panel.
So second use case I just did,
Details.
just like flows, you can reuse components, pages or panels with the
Mhm.
variable. Before variables and flows, I had to duplicate the panel, change all the references to duplicate, and then
Okay.
open that duplicate. But
Yeah.
yeah, if you want to change it in one panel,
You would have
do
to
it.
duplicate it everywhere and do the same.
Don't repeat yourself,
Yeah.
indeed.
Work in a modular way, make something once, reuse it
Yeah.
as much as you can.
So final step is when our detail panel opens,
Mm-hmm.
so there's an event for that. It should do something, and what should it do? It should push the current selected element name
Yeah.
to that table of
Yes, it should
recently visited
add a
elements.
row there where it has the new number as first column and then the second column the name.
Yeah. So we want to change a variable. Which variable?
Yeah.
Now it's our recently visited elements.
Mm-hmm.
And what should it do? It should add a row.
Ah, like that. And the editor you can then...
Yeah. Then you can provide for every column a value, and you can either fill it in statically, or in our case, we can link it to our variable selected element name. This one is already covered by my CSS magic. No worries.
All right, that was an auto incremental. Yeah. Okay.
So what I should do now, I noticed that there were 2 empty rows inside my history table. That's not what we want.
Yeah, I think we had a default.
Maybe it's the default 2 rows. I didn't remove them. So resize the table, default. And something nice to have still is a way to clear my history.
Yes.
So I could create a reset button.
Now what happens if, because I do come from a history of working with a lot of data and tables and stuff, and one of the first thing that comes in my mind is how do I limit the size? So there's a hard limit. You said 100 rows. What happens when you try and add 101? Like, do you know? Will it overwrite? Will it crash? Will it do something? Or is there a way to...
I think...
Is that a behavior that can be...
Well, I think there is no limit set for runtime additions.
Okay.
It's only when initializing a table. So we can't use a table to store big data in there and thousands of elements. But at runtime, because it's stored in the app, it also impacts the size of the app.
Yeah. So, and is there a way then to limit the at runtime additions that you're aware of?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not
Okay.
yet.
Good. Well, take it with you. coming from having to work with a lot of data.
It would be indeed possible now to create a loop and keep adding things and get your app out of memory.
But then again, it is client, so even if it happens...
Yeah, it's only your client.
I think if you restart your browser, then you start from...
Yeah, you won't impact the others that are using the app.
So yeah, impact is already a lot less. Okay, no, good.
So here, a clear button that will reset my history again. So it changed a variable again. It's my recently visited elements.
Yes.
And it's the clear table action.
Yeah, just to reset it.
So to check if everything is correct, I click on an element, B, N.
Yeah.
I open the history and I see my B and N. And I can double click it and it opens the N.
Nice.
And my reset button works as well.
So using variables to make a nice history button, regardless of what app you are starting off with. So yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah, so boosting performance, reusing things.
Sure.
And inventing totally new features that would not be possible otherwise.
Well, yeah, with variables, you open up a lot of flexibility, and imagination can be let loose to make very complex and beautiful looking things that still work efficiency and fast. So a small feature with a very large impact.
Yes, and that's why I didn't provide a catalog package, because I want to see how it will be used on the fields.
Yeah.
So now that I showcased some of the things I could think of, let's maybe perhaps do a tutorial-like thing.
Sure.
That everyone can follow along now.
All right, a quick one. Let's go.
A quick one.
Let's go.
So I was talking about my element filter in the beginning.
Yes.
So we could create such an use case. So we create first a list of elements.
Okay.
So a new query.
Yeah.
And get elements.
Just a basic get all the elements on the system.
Most basic query.
There we go. Already populated.
And I want to filter it with my variable.
Yeah.
And let's say that I have 2 buttons on top of my page. Could be header bar buttons. Also a nice thing about the variables, you no longer need components to do something, because you can now have a button in your header bar that pushes something to a variable.
See, yeah, okay.
So it could be also used to make your app less polluted and more...
Yeah, you can use the header bar now.
Yeah. So I can create an active filter button and a stopped filter button. The active should push a value to my variable.
Yeah.
Change a variable.
Yeah.
And it should be active. Same for stopped, where I want to override my variable with the content stopped.
And then we'll be able to probably change or add to the query that we're using to the table.
I need to provide a filter
on the...
I need to provide a filter node. We can link the state of the element.
Yep.
And it should match our variable indeed. And when it's empty, I want to show my entire list of elements.
Yeah. That should be it, right?
That should be it.
Quick, simple. Like I said, it's a small feature, but it has a big impact. You can do a lot. Let's see if it works before I give ourselves too much kudos. Okay.
So, variable is empty. I see everything. I see a stopped one over here and an one over here. The stopped one disappeared. The stopped one is the only one. So
perfect. Amazing.
Yeah, very easy to use.
I would say people who are following along and watching, if you can show us like a screenshot where you have such a low-code app, it doesn't necessarily need to be this one, like we say, play around with it, but show us something that says, you know, you've used a variable here, filter it like this. If you can send that in, we'll give you your DevOps points for doing that. I'd like to say thank you very much for making time, showing us this very nice variable feature within low-code app. And yeah, for everyone who is watching, I would say I hope you learned as much as I did and play around with these things. If you have any feedback, remember, always send us emails or let us know, post something on our dojo, you can go for it. Other than that, I wish everyone the very best. If you're watching from YouTube, don't forget like, subscribe, ring that little bell so you're always aware of any new videos we release when we release them. And other than that, yeah, I'll wish you the best. See you next time.
Bye.